Jesse,
Hi,
nice to meet
how are you, Stephen?
getting older, wishing I was younger.
Gotcha. Actually, I'm getting older too. My birthday is a week from today. I'm turning 45. So,
Okay,
yeah,
a volume of Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge.
yeah.
Now, I was reading in the comments that you noted that there was a change in some of these stories to six panels instead of the traditional eights.
Why did they do that?
Well, this was Karl Bark.
Right.
It's changing. He's done quite a lot of these. Oh, sorry, I'm jumping around all over the place. It's this. These comics are from 1958, so
Right.
he's been at it for I don't know more than 15 years.
Hmm. Okay. Yeah, I see. Yeah, so anyway, these stories are really fun, really enjoyable. I love Barks's imagination, his sense of humor, his sense of adventure. I can I can see a lot of I can really see the influence. See like I saw like for Forbidden Valley, I saw how that, I guess that was kind of it said that was like an influence on Jurassic Park, and a lot of Uncle Scrooge adventures, were influenced Indiana Jones. So yeah. Um,
Yeah, well, I used to read Donald Duck and Uncle Scrooge. Must be from the late 60s into the early 70s.
okay. I grew up reading reprints when the Gladstone Publishing was publishing them. Yeah, they published the Karl Barks Library.
Yeah, I used to have a big plastic bin full of comics by the side of my bed. And then one day my dad decided I was too old for comics and gave away all my comics to some other guy and his kids. But I
Wow.
think that's about 1974, something like that.
Hmm. I,
When I would have been about 14, 13 or 14.
hmm.
But due to the magic of the modern world, I can look at them all again, which
Yeah.
has been slightly more difficult.
Right.
Slightly more difficult with the technology of 50 years ago.
Right. Of course.
I thought this particular issue now, which one are we on? Volume 19. I think volume 19 was rather nice, actually.
Yeah.
Cool.
I thought it's, I found it, more flowing, easier to follow.
Yeah.
Uh, so he changed his style a little bit for these ones for this year. So he must have recognised there was something that needed fixing up. Okay, we have the first adventure, the Island of the Black Pearls. It's curious. It starts off, of course, it hasn't, got any uh, sort of, how they get some idea to go there. He's just teleported straight to the spot. He's looking for black pearls. It's a volcanic island, very traditional volcanic island, which doesn't exist anywhere like that. A giant, impossible cone sticking out of the water with an atoll around it. And Scrooge is piling up black pearls, which I think he's got this money bin, which has already got a huge fortune in it. But he's going to screw around with a fortune in black pearls, which must be only a speck in the amount of wealth he's got.
Yeah, well, he's got 3 cubic acres, or like umpteen fantastic Italian, impossible number like that. Yeah.
Oh, I fiddle around with the volcano in this one. So this is a very sort of exotic one. It ends up with a Christmas finish with the volcanic snow. This one I remember well. In fact, I quite liked this story as a kid. Forbidden Valley.
Yeah, that's a great classic.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't realise.
Yeah.
The guy at the end was being a bit critical of the illustrations in this for some reason. So maybe David can point out to us the problems with the illustrative quality of this one. So I mean, you got this bug that's killing all the cucumbers, junior cucumbers they use as pickles. I remember this bit, yeah, this bug comes along and pulls out a cork and the whole thing just fizzes out. McBride canning. So, they found themselves some bugs and this mysterious cane's always shooting out, wrecking things. And we've got Mick Swine. And this is a thing, 30 years ago, he amassed a fortune in pickled rutabagas. And it was a poor choice. Now, this is the interesting thing. Of course, I was reading the Australian printed comics. I've just realised now that they've changed the wording because a rutabaga would mean nothing in Australia. Uh, we call these Swedes. They're not turnips. I checked up. Yeah, they're called Swedish turnips. So he was always saying, "Oh, I've got these pickled Swedes I haven't been able to give away. And if I get rid of all the cucumbers, people are going to have to eat my pickled rutabagas and like them." Now, I've pickled turnips. Have you ever done that? And pickled turnips are quite nice. And I made the mistake of grabbing, well, rutabagas by mistake, not knowing the difference because they look a bit like turnips. But they're horrible when you pickle them. They're a lot mushier. Like turnips are very crisp. And the rutabagas or Swedes have a bitter taste. So, they make an utterly horrible pickle. There's just no point. Whereas, pickled turnips are delicious. So I don't fully understand the difference. They say rutabagas are crossed with a cabbage or something like that. So the ins and outs of it, I don't fully understand. Anyway, they're on a mission to save all the turnips, and man, they've got one of these bugs, and what an aggressive little species it is. And here we have the sinister figure of Mick Swine in the background. Their traditional villain, complete with pointy moustache. We're going to send them off to see if they can find the bug that eats the pickle borers. So they end up in Where is it? Where they go off to the Amazon or something like that? Amazon, yeah. So not crocodiles, must be alligators. Stickeree Indians who live near pass into Forbidden Valley, so they know where to find wasps. I quits right now for two good reasons. One is I'm scared of the Stickeree Indians, and the others I'm scared of Forbidden Valley. They're going to use beads, but somehow this guy's always waiting with his cane. So this cane is very significant. I remember that bit, yeah, the fruit coming down and landing on Donald's head. So he's wrecking the expedition. Reminds you a bit of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And they found themselves on the back of a dinosaur, which is going back to the valley. And the more fierce Indians will not go into the valley either. Okay, yeah, I remember this bit when I was shooting arrows down on the when they were riding the dinosaur. And yep, a typical Lost Valley of dinosaurs. Tyrannosaurus. This have always bad dreams about a Tyrannosaurus chasing me. I think it started off in 1966 or 1965. I had a dream of an entity that looked like Godzilla, but later on it transformed into a Tyrannosaurus after probably, watching stuff on TV. Well, the Tyrannosaurus doesn't like wasps. The other dinosaurs are scared of wasps as well. Yeah, I sort of remember all this bit. So crack, he's finally wrecked it. Here you are. The appetizers, something's this. Oh, what on earth is that horrible tasting thing? A pickled rutabaga, senor. I'm sorry, the cucumber crop is doomed. And the only pickles we can get are these rutabagas from a cannery in Duckburg. My stars. I must have botched the batch. Get away from here, you awful villain. Haven't you done enough damage? I'm not doing any more damage, Ducks. I'm here to help you catch the wasp. Well, new one. Yeah, I remember this one too. Yeah, so the only thing down on the social scale more than Donald in the workplace is the ape who's doing a lesser job than him.
Mhm.
Okay, he's got, yeah, I remember this one where they go to fix up the deserted hotel. And Donald makes a sterling effort, and Uncle Scrooge comes to check it out. Oh, yeah, remember the safe. I always seem to forget the combination of the safe. I got a safe. I almost forgot its combination once. I was struggling for a while. Then I remembered it. course, the easy trick is you just pick somebody's birthday, and of course, or a combination of their birthday, and then, well, you're going to find it. Get over your mistakes. Okay, so that checks ruins. And Donald's misfortune is to replace the ape's job. So he's gone right down to the bottom of the scale. Yeah, a nice little shot, new adventure, and the vulture is begging. This is a really desperately bad belly. Okay, so people got a competition to find a uranium mine, but all the old timers have got a better living of posing for tourists. Gladstone Ganders showed up. He's just sheer luck. He beats everything. Yeah, I remember this bit actually. Yeah, Donald's. That's Donald makes this little pile of sticks to put his kettle on. Yeah, that's a ridiculous concept. It wouldn't work terribly well. And yeah, Scrooge is going to tie rope around a can, which is probably a technique that to some degree works. But Gander gets a meteorite to boil his water for him. Yeah, I remember these cute looking burrows. So this is the eight pane story. This is his traditional method, but he was introducing free pane stories about this time. So draw Gladstone Ganders found 10 uranium mines. You think Gladstone Gander would have been able to sort of retire for life? There's no reason for him to be looking for anything anymore, or contesting with Donald anymore. This is never explained. It's back to the rocket race. I might have seen this one. Quite in my memory that much. You Duncoffs don't dare win. I've sunk my whole fortune into my rocket. Take it easy, Professor Mistlebug. We'll be broke too if we lose. So this is actually where Donald started off in the 40s comics. He was doing pretty hair-raising things and that continuously. Well, got to land on each continent and bring something back. So try to capture a kangaroo, and he just hops into Gladstone Gander's rocket. He's found some kookaburras. These kookaburras are actually not accurate. So he's done something that looks like a kingfisher, but kookaburras have a white head. Somehow he's missed that. He must have thought, well, it's just a typical kingfisher. Well, he's doing India. They found a tiger. Yeah, I think I have seen this one when I was a kid. I think I remember the tiger poking out. The hats of legionnaires. The cape of a matador and hat. Spanish corks. South America, I'll grab coffee. The whole thing is just full of coffee beans and kookaburras. What the hell else? Gladstone finds a golden statue. your time is up and the race is over. So they haven't made the time. There's that curious little robot again with a light bulb. And a computer of the time, 1950s. And he gets back to find his old job has been stolen by everybody else. Isn't this a scenario a bit like modern times? That, you know, things are not working out so well for the working man anymore. In Donald's time, they were actually on the uptick, especially in the 50s and 60s. April Fool trick works too well. Finding a lost island, treasure map sort of thing. Donald sells his house and the nephews are up to their necks in it. Okay, they find a sorcerer who's been tarred and feathered by his local people. The only thing they got is to sell is coconuts, and no ships have come in. Magically, Donald gets a control of the coconuts, and a ship comes in. He's made a small fortune. Somehow the Blackstone worked, so he has enough money to buy back his house. Titanic ants must be one that I've seen as well. Somehow the idea of the giant ants. So they're hired to protect a wealthy picnic party from ants. And Donald's brought a load of money with him. Okay, Scrooge discovers that the house is full of giant ants. Shoe ants, and a giant ant comes along and hits one of the nephews over the head. Well, it's amazing. It only takes a couple of generations to become stuck up with money. Ants as big as dogs. I say, old insect. That is my potted grouse. Oh, that's right. A lot of the case, I think, yeah, quite a few of the wealthy Americans would have went and studied in England for a proper education rather than in the ex-colony. Cinema prior to World War II, British cinema was regarded as the thing. You know, Hollywood was a new invention that was trying to compete with British cinema. It wasn't, of course, until British cinema was on a decline after World War II that Hollywood really became the big item. But some of the feats of British cinema are still quite outstanding. You know, you got like the Thief of Baghdad. Anyway, this guy has got some device which can increase the size of the ants by adding molecules. And Scrooge is interested. Now, this is, of course, is the scientific inaccuracy. On their small scale, ants can lift weights way beyond their own, but this is due to a law of physics. It's because the strength is in the square of a cross section. So a small creature is very strong in relation to its own weight because the strength is in the square and the weight is in the volume. But as you upsize a structure, it becomes inherently weaker in relation to its own mass. Hence, why when the two towers fell the way they did, everyone's thinking that's not the way something falls. Yes, it is. When you've got a very large structure, that's how it falls, because the ratio between the strength and which is in the square and the volume has changed. So an enlarged ant wouldn't be able to pick up many times its own weight. You've got a giant mole as well, causes trouble. And Donald wrecks a machine, which means things are going to be stuck the way they are for a while. The moles left a furrow of dirt all around the picnic spot, so they can't escape with their cars. And he's got a magnet that attracts silver, which means you can give each of the ants a silver coin and drag them in. So you got the silver earring being dragged off. Well, the interesting thing is the stories in this seem to just stick at 10 pages. So what's going on? Are they all precisely 10 pages? Maybe David could explain this to me.
Well, we've just seen. You mean in this volume, we've just seen
Yeah.
a couple that were longer.
It's in other volumes as well. It's precisely so many pages or something like that.
If they were in uh comics and stories, yeah, they were 10 pagers. But if they were in the main series, then they were longer.
So he's building a story to a precise number of pages in a lot of cases.
Yeah, well, in comics and stories, of course, it was an anthology, so they had other features with other stories.
Well, Donald's doing the job of a mailman and he's very sincere. He's got his pretty ordinary job. It's delivering mail. Here's a spin-off of Gyro Gear Loose here. An intellectual who is lost on reality. It's interesting, the mini helicopter, which were all the rage in the 60s. I think James Bond had one of those mini copters, so they're experimenting in the very early times. Don't think they do them anymore since they tend to be rather dangerous. There's a high casualty rate with them. The battle with the eagle. High up on a crag dwells a giant eagle and his family of growing young. Translated from Eagle Talk. Look, Pop, we're big boys. Yes, we're too old to be eating mice and gophers. We need to put feathers on our chest. What we need to put feathers on our chest is beef. The boys are right, but beef nowadays is getting hard to catch. Too many corrals and farmhouses. Maybe I imagine it, but it seems I smell beef now and it's up in the air some way. So Donald's got a packet of beef there. The eagle gets it, and the eagle's fighting with his helicopter. Or gyrocopter, or whatever they call them. And he can't get his beak through the mailbag, gives up on it. Oh, well, he finally gets his beef, the miner. Now they're comparing their father figure with the fathers of the other kids who are all successful, except Donald. I wonder if he still has his job skimming scum off the vats in the vinegar works. He should. He only went there to work this morning. Well, 4 hours is about as long as he ever lasts on any job. Poor Uncle Donald. He just never seems to be able to be a success at anything. Look, there's smoke coming out of Fluffy Bun Bakery. The place isn't on fire. He simply burned the pies. You're going to try and make more food. Uses the wrong stuff. He's used popcorn in place of some almonds. Judging stand. He's got macaroons which are like rockets. This one might ring a bit of a bell as well. And finally, he's going to build a big fake pie for the junior woodchucks come out of. But he's used cheese since he didn't have enough of some other ingredient. Here we are. They're on the run. You know, it's got the silhouette. But Donald, you can't go running off from your job while Mr. Johnson is clear up in Tuleville. You've got to let him know somehow. I'll tell him personally at the speed I'm going, I'll be passing Tuleville at about daybreak. Oh, well, the once a year clean where he's supposed to help Daisy Duck. It's interesting. So he's got a squirrel in the mouse wheel who's on strike. And he'll do anything to get away from Daisy and helping her do her chores. And he's got more silhouettes here. So how many panes is this one? So the previous story had the traditional 8 pane layout. This one's 8 pane as well. Well, what do you reckon, David? I think these stories are a bit better than I've seen in the last couple of volumes in general. They all seem to be good stories.
Well, he's quite a seasoned pro at this point. Has a couple of decades at the work under his belt by this point. He knows what he's doing.
Donald and the trusty, the trusty bloodhound. And Donald's going to use the river and try and escape. The dog gets past that supermarket. I'll use a red herring. Doesn't work. A loom, which I'm not too aware of what a loom is. It clogs up the nose of the dog. And Donald thinks he's escaped. He's in an amusement park. You can't escape the official hound, Uncle Donald. He doesn't need to smell, see, or hear. He can track by braille. And Donald makes a run through it, through the park, the amusement park. And he's finally roped into helping Daisy clean. Well, the milk run story, Pains is this one. So this is, he's got a free, oh no, it's back to 8 Pains. Donald's a milkman. But he's got somebody that wants his job. So we've got this villain again, this villainous bull. Okay, he's saved the crate of milk bottles. If you remember the traditional milk bottle, probably not. They were still around. Yeah. The cartons started to come in, I don't know, early 70s, something like that. But the milk bottles were still there for quite a while, I think into the 80s or something like that, before they finally disappeared. You remember the silver tops at all? I'd go into
Yeah,
them.
I'm too young for those. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this would have been, sort of like about 1970, something like that, 1969. So you go in the milk bar, as we called it in Australia, the corner store. That's where the comics would be. That's where I bought most of the Donald Duck comics. So I'd be in a stand, and a pint of milk would be 8 cents.
Wow.
And the odd thing at the time, I think, was about the price of gasoline. Same ratio.
Wow.
I remember the price of an imperial gallon was about of gasoline was about 38 cents, something like that. 36 cents, 35 cents. All right. No, I'm thinking wrong. Yeah. So a pint of milk was about the same price as a litre of gasoline. And the ratios still remained until the early 70s, when the price of a pint of milk went from 8 cents to 11 cents. And the price of a litre of petrol went up by a similar amount. It's got this little milk truck, which is probably specially designed to be quiet. Might have even been electric in some cases. In Australia, they would use a horse and cart to deliver milk, because they figured that was quieter than a truck. So you'd hear this sort of clip clop in the morning, back about 60, 50 years ago. Well, he's got the villain stuck in place. Donald's lost his job, but he's actually been promoted because all the other customers loved him so much. Okay, our rich uncle Scrooge McDuck is searching all over Duckburg for lands with the right kind of echoes. Echoes, fancy that. Now, yeah, this is one I remember as well. So I remember them buying that valley for the right type of echoes. Gladstone Gander has showed up to compete with him. So the only reason Donald's down in the world, despite all his efforts, is his competitor has magic on his side. So they're trying to convince Scrooge to buy their particular side, and all the echoes are fake. The echoes, in Donald's case, have been made by his nephews, and in Gander's case, he's using a tape recorder set up. Okay, then we find out what the echoes are all about. He was searching for oil. And they've sold off their concessions at a low price. He's discovered a good load of oil, and Gladstone Gander loses out, just like Donald has. So his luck's failed him on this occasion. Very curious. Okay, so it's raining pitchforks already, but the paper said that this hurricane wouldn't last long. And a frog wants to get out of the bad weather. And the frog stays on. And then he gets a plan. I'll use this frog in the leaping competition. A nice load of dog faces there. And things go badly for Donald when there's a disaster, but the frog saves the day for him. And all ends up well. Another one, the water ski. For some reason, the water skis keep on coming off Donald's feet. Of course, the prize is he gets to dance with the Queen, and the Queen is, a bombshell of that era, 40s or 50s. Bad in the eyelids, with eyeshadow. Daisy Duck hides the key. She couldn't stand the thought of Donald dancing with competition. Well, here we've got the covers. Can't say I remember the covers that well.
Yeah, I just give them a quick look.
Okay. Now, here's a truly intriguing Barksian oddball. For starters, unlike most other Bark stories, the look of the black pearls of Tabu Yama is significantly different because the Duckman opens up his page layouts to give us a tale told in 3-tier panel grid, six panels per page, instead of the usual 4 tiers or 8 panels per page. It's the first of 3 such stories in this volume, along with Donald Duck and the Titanic Ants and Water Ski Race, about which more later. Oh, yeah, so, okay, yeah, the Water Ski Race uses typically 3 tiers, and this one's using 4 tiers. So what was the other one? The Titanic Ants. All right, so okay, yeah, so this one was free tier. Oh, well, yeah, I thought the stories were rather delightful. I have been found some of the other stories a bit draggy.
Well, he was pretty seasoned pro by this point. Number of decades in, he got the formula down by this point.
Yes, I'll be curious to see how he goes. Of course, I didn't
Yeah.
uh, read any more after the early 70s. So I wonder what he started to look like in the period I wasn't reading him anymore. So this would have I would have been seeing older stories and current stories in the late 60s and early 70s.
Yeah. Volume 19. So we're just about 57% done. If we go to the end, which we'll see if we go all the way. Yeah, we're past the peak, but he's still one of the best that ever did the job. And there's some good stuff coming up, still to come. Next month, volume 20. Another month, another month.
What's in that volume 20?
What is it called? I don't know.
Hmm.
I'll look it up. Island in the Sky. No, 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 no. Wrong, 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 wrong. I got that wrong. Sorry, that's 24.
No.
Well, I can't find it.
Hmm.
25, 24, 9, 27, 13, 5, 7, 8, 11, 3, 28, 26, 14, 10, 6, 4, 21, 17, 12, 18, 1, 15, 16, 20. The Mines of King Solomon. There we go.
Yeah, that's a really great one. Yeah.
There's some good stuff coming up. We're a little
Yeah.
past the halfway point, but there's some good ones still to come.
Yeah.
Maybe if we get all the way to the end, we'll double back and start over again. No, we won't do that. Um, well, I'm pretty free for the next couple of weeks, so if anybody has any suggestions, now's the time. Because I'm going to make some suggestions for Steven, depending on what he would be interested in. So here are my
So we've got
suggestions.
a Barbarella next week.
Barbarella next week. Oh, okay. So now so if you got the ones I put in the chat, you got those. Um, you said you wanted to do the new adventures of Barbarella. Okay. Now you're going to find that you probably aren't going to need to read the entirety of it. And that's perfectly fine. Read as much as you would like. If you want to get to like page 40 or 50 and decide you've had enough, perfectly fine. Go right ahead. The other thing is you wanted to see about going back to Conan, Red Sonja's solo, which she's had as equally as lengthy a publishing history as Conan has, but you said you wanted to at least do a sample. So there is one sample of Red Sonja's long publishing history. You can check that out and decide for yourself if you want to continue with that one. I'll let you decide. Again, just a sample. And of course, the next issue of Hellblazer when we do our next Hellblazer catch up. But don't feel obligated to finish all of Barbarella because you're going to discover, I'm sure, that you really don't particularly need to. Go as far as you would like. And stop when you feel you've had enough.
All right, I gotta go. Nice
Mm,
seeing you again. Okay, take care.
yeah. Thanks for being here, Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
Okay. So,
You
my
said it'd be
suggestion.
an
Hmm?
unusual one, Jesse.
Fandom encompasses all sorts of types. So, I have something of a suggestion. Do you see that? Okay, so this is called Macedonia by Heather Robertson, a student of peace and conflict studies at UCB. Arguing with a professor about the inevitability of war, Robertson argues that it is avoidable, while the professor argues that it is not. Robertson cites Macedonia, which avoided war, unlike other former states of Yugoslavia, as an example. Robertson decides to make this a subject of her thesis and travels to Macedonia to carry out her research. Robertson sees the tense relationship between the Macedonians and the Albanians. She travels to Belgrade, Skopje, and Titovo, interviewing ombudsman, professors, and a police trainer. Um, Macedonia received mixed reviews, praised the book integrity and rigor, observing that it sometimes sags under the weight of its relentless wordiness and intellectual distance. One review characterized it as an ambitious but uneven departure, praising its intellectual scope while suggesting that the analytical explanatory approach resulted in less immediate and engaging narrative. Booklist felt that the book was skillfully prepared in text and basic layout, but complained that the illustration was stiff. Other reviews responded positively. Some reviewers complained the text overwhelmed the illustrations, leading it to feel more like a lecture than a comic. And if by chance you are interested
Saying I'm curious.
in seeing, there we go. Okay, go away. Thank you. Here we are. Here we are. Bum, 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 bum. Okay. So, so it's a lot of this. Take Bulgaria, its capital, Sofia, the way west in the country. The Bulgarians put it there in 1879, figuring it would be the middle of the country once they had taken over Macedonia. As far as the Bulgarians are concerned, Macedonians are just Bulgarians in denial who happen to speak terrible Bulgarian. And Greece apparently thinks it owns the word Macedonia. So a lot of history. It's basically, we've seen this before with Joe Sacco. So this is okay, let's see if there's any way to advance. There probably isn't. No, no way to advance. Oh, down there. Okay. What am I doing? Click. If I click that, does that do anything? Nope, not particularly. I see. I see. I see how it is. Okay. Go you. Okay, so you get the idea. It's a lot of reading. But it's her chronicling her trip and what she saw and what she learned. A lot of reading. What do you think?
How many pages is it?
I think it's like 150-ish or something like that. Maybe one. Yeah, something like that.
I suppose I could give it a go, yeah.
Really? Is this an interesting enough subject? It's just a lot of people sitting around talking and a lot of info dumping. I mean, it is an interesting area, we've seen a lot of Joe Sacco's comics that do this, but this is like, post breakup ex Yugoslavian countries and what's happened to them since. A lot of information.
Well, according to the Greeks, there's no such place as Macedonia. Probably, in a sense, the Greeks are right, of course. There's a Greek part of Macedonia, which is the coastal bit, which the Greeks have kept. And there was another state that used to be part of Yugoslavia. It was called Macedonia.
Yeah, that's why it was the former Yugoslav Republic of Macedonia for a lot of decades because they couldn't agree on the name. That's why. Well, I have other suggestions you may like more. Uh, unless you're interested in that one. Um, 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 um. Okay. Back to you. Back to you. There was a website that I used which was much easier, which went away. This this is an interesting one. You possibly may have an interest in, depending on your mood. Preacher. In the small Texas town of Annville, a bizarre spiritual force known as Genesis has fused with Jesse Custer, a local preacher. This union has shattered his faith and granted him a terrible power, the ability to command anyone who hears his voice. Disillusioned, he abandons the pulpit and sets out across the country. He is joined by his former lover, the resourceful Tulip, and a hard-drinking Irish drifter named Cassidy. Their journey through the American landscape is marked by violence and strange encounters, revealing a world far removed from any scripture. The open road offers no answers, only more questions written in blood and whiskey. This was actually a very, very popular series.
Sounds absolutely awful, but people seem to like absolutely awful stories in the modern era.
I don't know. I guess I thought you possibly might enjoy it. It's a very mid 90s Vertigo
So it
issue.
looks okay. It's probably, how long is it?
We'll probably only do 4 or 5 chapters, but it was very popular at one time. And or we could do Desolation Jones, which I showed you a bit of before, which again, same thing. It's just very edgy, a lot of violence, a lot of gore, a lot of gunfight, no real depth.
I'm watching Supernatural at the moment, the series. I wonder if they did a illustrated novels based on the Supernatural series. And Supernatural,
Nothing comes to mind, but I wouldn't doubt it. There's probably something out there, but I don't recall off the top of my head that they ever did a comic.
Supernatural seems to have copied the theme of Hellblazer. Simply, changed the, giving us two brothers who are more clean cut. And looking at Alan Moore's intro of Constantine, his Constantine was more clean cut than the totally dilapidated stooge that the Hellblazer comics started off with. I mean, that guy is just unbelievable. He's a total loser. There's no way a total loser like that would beat the demons. In fact, finally succumbing to the demons would be the easy way out of his dilemma. The original Hellblazer was such a worthless character. You just got no respect for him, and that kills the story, because to some small degree, you need to look up to the hero. Yeah. And the early Hellblazers, he just had nothing going for him. But this recent one, they've recut him, made him look a bit better. So, what other interesting stories have we got out there?
Okay, here is, if you know who Sax Rohmer was. Sax Rohmer, famous for creating Fu Manchu.
No, I don't really know much about Fu Manchu. So
Well,
this was a 20s, 30s writer, wasn't
yeah. So this is Dope, A Story of Chinatown, a 1919 crime and mystery thriller novel set in London's Limehouse district. It centers on the international narcotics trade and an actress's fatal drug addiction. This is the comics adaptation of the novel, which, I don't know. There's a possibility you might have been interested in that. I just put it on the list. Anything interesting to you, or do we want to go with Macedonia?
Oh, I can do Macedonia. I
Really?
really don't know what's out there. I haven't done any research. I just find my time too filled up. Like
Right.
doing these comics takes a bit of a chunk out of the week. It's a bit of time.
As always, yeah, you don't have to get all the way to the end. Go to however long you. All right, we'll do Macedonia then, I guess. Um,
Well, I did suggest we look through some of the 1960s, 70s scary stories, gold key comics, which would, bring back memories for me, I suppose.
I want Albina to be here for that though.
Sorry?
Albina, Albina from
Yeah.
Bosnia.
You'd want Albina to be here
Yeah,
for.
I'll wait until she's back
Oh, okay.
for us to do that.
It's interesting you got somebody like Albina who just shows that sort of crazy Eastern European mentality. I
Okay.
mean, it's like, might go to the shopping centre. I know a guy who likes telescopes, and he's often sitting with this Serbian guy. And I mean, you're trying to figure out, you got this Serbian guy here. He's pleasant enough, but his mentality is really down on the farm. It's just not in the modern world. It's quite amazing, and it's why in politics I would warn, this whole thing they're getting into with Russia. You got Western Europe, which Western Europe's got a perspective that we might understand, but you start getting into Eastern Europe. You've met Eastern Europeans. I mean, It's like Zardoz when, he's sort of roped to the buggy and the guy's distributing bread. And they come across, they've got a name for them, the people that have been aged, which, indulge in misbehavior. He says, in and out quick, they're vicious. And I'll say the same about Eastern Europe. It's not a place where you want your politics to stick around for too long because you're going to pay for it. Because you're dealing with a mentality which is completely different from the Western mentality. Well, maybe not completely, but very different. And you get all these Americans and these Western Europeans that don't even understand each other terribly well, but they can more or less work on the same at the same level. And they just don't understand that you go to Eastern Europe, you're dealing with a different set of rules. They think, Westerners think that their set of rules are universal, we're the penultimates of where man goes. And these Eastern Europeans will learn to do tricks for us like monkeys. They'll learn to behave better. And it's not going to work. They don't realise. History demonstrates this. Eastern Europe's Eastern Europe. And you think Napoleon and Hitler worked on the principle of a knockout blow, a rapid invasion, using the Eastern Europeans as allies. In and out quick. Now, the West has now adopted the other process, the other approach. We'll peel off some of their client states and we'll establish our position to invade Russia. That's quite a sensible move. The only problem is you're sticking around in Eastern Europe for a long time. You're going to pay for it. The newspapers are full of the Russians are evil. Well, if you think the Russians are evil, the Poles, the Ukrainians, the Romanians, the whole lot are just as mad. They're only looking at you favourably at the moment. Wait till they start to realise they don't like you. Then you're in for hell.
And if you're interested, I think I gotta do, yeah. Okay. See that? Yeah. Oh, I did show you this, didn't I? Bronchitis. Rick. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind. Anyway, the point is, yeah, he's probably gonna be out for a while, depending on how long it lasts, which probably will be a while. So
yeah, I think bronchial conditions, in my case, I've had 2 bouts. I think they lasted about a month.
yeah.
I started using one of those common sort of cure things, which I forget the name of the stuff. I'll have to go and check my cabinet. Do I still have a...
Give me here it is.
Can't see it.
Here's
Yeah, you definitely need treatment with bronchitis. I tried to, I didn't really take it seriously. I got treatment for one bout of bronchitis, and that works fairly quickly. And it was just that stuff that they sell in the chemists.
Yeah.
Now, as far as I can figure out, the stuff works because it's a type of speed, and it makes your blood pump through your body a bit more quickly somehow, or it opens up the bronchial tubes a bit more and allows everything to clear. But yeah, we'll see how Rick goes. But yeah, I remember now, yeah, it can last a month.
Yeah, we'll see.
I've only had it in, one lung at a time.
Yeah, I had pneumonia about a bout of pneumonia about 20 years ago. And I would say that was the worst thing I've ever gone through.
Yeah, well, I haven't had pneumonia. That's much worse than bronchitis. Of course, bronchitis, it's just the big ones at the top that get inflamed. Pneumonia is the small, finer ones, which means your ability to breathe would be very limited. But did you just have it in one lung?
Yeah, I had both lungs filled with fluid and lasted about 3 months, I think. And it was
3
bad.
months.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. Worst thing I've ever gone through, by far.
So what did you do to deal with it?
Well, eventually I went to the emergency room, but I think there was some medication, as I remember. Eventually, it just went away.
Okay, so you sort of sat with it for quite a while before you sought help,
Yeah,
and that was a mistake.
probably.
So they had you on the breathing device or something like that to get.
I don't think so. No, as I remember, I think it was just some pills. I think it was.
So once you got the pills, how long did it take to go away?
Yeah, I think it was like, 3, 4 weeks. Yeah.
So you spent 2 months without really seeking any proper treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember when I was about 20, 21, I got a flu. And I was probably eating wrong at the time. I wasn't eating any meat. Probably my choice of food wasn't that great. I was eating a lot of vegetables. Yeah, I went for a walk to the city. I was living near the central business district. It was about 45-minute walk to get to the edge of the central business district, walking through some parks and gardens. I was just walking and I just tended to notice that I was getting tireder all the time. And by the time I reached the outskirts of the central business district, I was just about keeling over. So I thought, well, won't be hanging around the city tonight. So I got on the bus and went home. And yeah, I was burning up for about a week, had a brief recovery, and then a second bout that lasted about a week. Never went to see a doctor. And I realised looking back, that was pretty severe. It was pretty borderline sort of stuff. I went and saw the doctor after that. He sent me to a nutritionist, and the nutritionist recommended avoiding sugar and, even sugar in fruit, stuff like that. Had a blood test. The only thing that came up was zinc deficiency, which might have affected me my whole life because it wasn't until about 10 years ago, a bit over 10 years ago, I decided taking zinc pills every day. And I noticed there was quite a bit of difference. So it just doesn't get in your head when you're younger. You think everything's okay, but when you think about zinc deficiency or a deficiency in something, it does really mean something. So I remember I used to get those cracks at the side of my mouth, and that was a sign of zinc deficiency. So I started taking the zinc regularly, and yeah, didn't get the cracks back. And then accidentally, I went into too lower amount of zinc for a period of time. And even though I was still taking a bit of zinc tablet during the week, the cracks came back. So somehow my body uses or needs a lot of zinc. I asked the doctor and he said, doesn't know why. But I would say when I was zinc deficient, I was loopier. I think my mind works a bit better since I've been regularly taking the zinc. But I changed. For example, when I was zinc deficient, I wouldn't develop alcoholism. But after taking the zinc, I suddenly found it was easy to develop alcoholism. I would say with the greater level of zinc, I was probably more emotional, potentially more violent too. You know, I was always a scaredy cat, but when I got more zinc in me, I started to notice a rise in aggression. And I went from being a lefty to a supporter of Donald Trump in the same period. Magic. So when I was loopy, I was a lefty. Is this the secret of supporting the Democrats? But being loopy is good in a way. Yeah, you don't worry about things as much. You're content to live in your own little world. But when you start to get more drive, yeah, you start to hanker after things that you can't have.
There's a possibility you may be interested in this. Crumb did a adaptation of the Book of Genesis. Does that sound interesting to you?
Yeah, right.
This is an actual adaptation of
Oh, yeah, looks good.
the entire Book of Genesis. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, could do that. Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. It's the entire Book of Genesis. Interested?
Oh, yeah, probably go with the religious studies.
I'll put it on the list and you want to do. Okay, so the schedule next week we're doing
Barbarella.
Barbarella. So for September, yeah, that's the 28th. So right now, it's looking like Macedonia for the 4th, right? Okay. And then probably Hellblazer catch up for the 11th. Then the 18th will be Karl Barks Volume 20. And then back to the Northlanders for the 25th. That'll be September. And then we maybe I'll do Book of Genesis in October. Does that sound
Sounds
good?
good.
Or we can dump Macedonia and do Book of Genesis.
Well, let's do the Book of Genesis first. Looks more intriguing.
Really? Okay. Again, that's 220 pages. So go as far as you want to go with that one. if you're hot on that one, that well, all right, we'll do Book of Genesis. You know, it's hard to gainsay Crumb. I'll say this though, it's gotten mixed reviews.
even from Crumb's supporters.
Well, I think you'll see when you get it. But okay, sure, let's do it.
Well, you mean he's straighter in this one than normal, and that disappointed his followers.
He a lot of people have said it was really well done and appreciated it, but you know, not everybody said it was one of Crumb's best. Let's say that, but that's basically what it is. It's he took yeah the Book of Genesis and just did a very straightforward adaptation of what the Book of Genesis is, and that's exactly what it is. Okay, all right. We'll put that one on 2 weeks from now then. 220 pages. You don't have to read all of it. And we'll go for more than one session if need be. Ariel, you can say anything you want to say.
Yeah, just asking for Barbarella, um, who's the author illustrator on that? Which version are you doing?
That's true. Yeah, well, back in April, we did the original 1960s, 1970s original French comics. And we did those back in April. So Steven said he would be interested in checking out the new adventures of Barbarella. So the one we're doing next week is the new version. And if I'm able to find it, which I may or may not be. It's always troublesome. I catch off guard. Yeah, we did the original 60s and 70s French comic. There we go. Takes a while. There we go. So this is the version that was published by Dynamite Comics. This is Mike Carey. And two people I've never heard of. But that's what we're doing.
Okay. And the one after Barbarella is
Well, apparently, yeah, we're gonna go with Book of Genesis by Crumb. Again, if you need any of these digitally, I'll be happy to provide. Just let me know.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm on Amazon. I'm looking around DC Comics all this. I'm looking all over the place.
You let me know and I'll provide them on request.
All right. So yeah, I'll see if the Barbarella is
Yeah, it's just well, Steven said he would be interested in checking it out, but you don't need to read more than I think 40 pages before you get the idea. You're gonna get tired of it very quickly.
okay.
I'm talking to Steven too. It's 130 pages. There's no way you would want to go any further than more 40, 45-ish pages. It's not that great. I mean, the original, we'll talk about it when we get there, but the original at least had some amount of charm and some amount of, you know,
Yeah, there was a certain quaint naivety about it.
that's right. Yeah. Um, you'll see the new updated new adventures of Barbarella. It's basically a science fiction story with the character and science fiction comics.
Well,
So,
the original was just line drawings of female curves to keep the boys happy.
well,
Pretty
sort of what we
typical,
got here as well. And you've got a sampling of Red Sonja. If you're interested in checking that out, we could go further with that one, but I'll let you decide. And then I guess we'll do Book of Genesis after Barbarella, 2 weeks from now.
So this is the Savage Bible. Is that, or is that something different? Justin Wayne Smith, or is it something different you're looking at?
The title? It's,
Yeah, add it on here on Kindle edition, and I see one. It says the Savage Bible Genesis, but it's by Justin Wayne Smith. So I don't. It may be something different. Let me
Yeah.
look. Oh, the Book of Genesis. Guillermo Dauch. I don't know how to say that name. Decleed.
Yeah, as I always say, if you're I mean, first of all, look for your public library, but if you're gonna plan on buying comics, that gets expensive after a while. But
Yeah, these are free, but I don't know that they're the same one you're looking at. So I'll just DM you closer to the time you're going to present to get the link for it.
sure thing. I don't think Steven's bought a single comic in all the years we've been doing this group.
I have bought a comic or two,
Not for the reading group.
not for the readings,
Yeah.
no.
But I I'd be interested in continuing where we left off with Conan sometime.
Yeah, I sort of
Going with that.
probably reached the point. Okay. I think, yeah, I was having trouble downloading Barbarella on the
Really?
Edge.
Oh dear.
So that's just me, and I used an alternate one, and that downloaded quickly. I'm just trying
Cool.
to think.
Okay.
Well, whether I use Google, their one,
Okay.
their browser. So I use Google's browser, and it worked fairly quickly. But you don't know in this world, do the different groups try to sabotage each other, which is probably quite likely.
All right. So
This is the war between the different groups, and they're going to try and sabotage each other.
so we've got our September blocked out then. Next week, Barbarella, and then Book of Genesis on the 4th. Hellblazer on the 11th. Might be our last Hellblazer meeting. We'll see. Carl Barks Volume 20 on the 18th, and then back to Northlanders at long last after a 2-month hiatus for the 25th. And that's our September. Cool.
Yep, it's downloaded fine. Yeah, yeah.
Cool.
Try and do it with Edge because it was a big file.
I don't imagine you'll go all the way to the end of that because you'll realize very quickly what kind of a comic it is. So that's why I'll give you one sample chapter of Red Sonja to do in addition because I think you'll have a lack of reading for the week without that one. But I think you'll see what Red Sonja's history of comics is somewhat similar to Conan's in that it's a lot of adaptations of the novels.
No,
There you go.